Hello, it is I are Smart, and here is a bunch of useless information about Star Wars. The communicator device that Luke uses to talk to C-3PO in A New Hope is actually a piece of plumbing the prop team found and quickly put into the hands of the actors for the scene. There was only one ever made. Supposedly, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith was 4 hours long before being edited down to its theatrical runtime of 2 hours and 20 minutes. I imagine most of what was cut was deleted scenes like this.
I'm pretty sure that beep is down. Yes, you're right. Beep is up. I think.
The Star Wars Holiday Special released on November 17, 1978. It is an entire 2 hours of pain and suffering, and George Lucas has said that he wants every copy of it to be destroyed. In Star Wars Episode 3, Obi-Wan greets General Grievous by saying,
"Hello there."
A callback to how Ben Kenobi greets R2-D2 in the original Star Wars.
Hello there.
And in a Clone Wars episode set before Episode 3, General Grievous greets Obi-Wan by saying, "Hello there," implying that Kenobi stole the line. Ralph McQuarrie created concept art for Star Wars back in 1975 for the original movie, and while most of the designs were altered or changed somehow for the final movie, many of their original designs were reused in the Star Wars Rebels series. Ian McGregor's brother is a Royal Air Force pilot, and his call sign is Obi-2. David Prowse wore the Darth Vader suit for the original trilogy, but George thought his voice didn't fit the character.
Find the passengers of this vessel. I want them alive.
So he hired James Earl Jones to do the voice, who recorded all of the lines in only 2.5 hours. A young Han Solo was originally supposed to appear in an early Episode 3 script. He would be raised by Chewbacca on Kashyyyk and meet Yoda. They then kind of resurrected this idea in an animated Lego short, where Han Solo pretends to be a Jedi Padawan. The band in the Mos Eisley Cantina is called Figrin and Dan and the Modal Nodes, and they are a group of Biff aliens who play a genre of music called jizz. Yes, that was the actual canon name for years, but just recently Lucasfilm has changed that and that is no longer canon. George Lucas told Carrie Fisher not to wear underwear in the original Star Wars because there is no underwear in space. Hear it from Carrie herself.
He says because there's no underwear in space.
Luke Skywalker has a green lightsaber in Episode 6, the first time this color appeared. It was originally supposed to be blue, but green contrasted better with the Tatooine sky. Sir Christopher Lee, who played Count Dooku in Episodes 2 and 3, was actually a sword fighter in real life. So, even though he was 80 years old, he actually did many of his own stunts during Attack of the Clones. Luke Skywalker's name was originally supposed to be Starkiller, but people told George that they should use a nicer name for the main character, and this name would later be reused for the protagonist of the Force Unleashed games, and it would be reused for Starkiller Base in Episode 7. Actor Clancy Brown has played many characters in Star Wars, providing the voice of Savage Opress, Darth Maul's brother in the Clone Wars, Berg, a Devaronian mercenary in Season 1, Episode 6 of The Mandalorian, and he has played Ryder in Star Wars Rebels, and now played that same character in the live-action Ahsoka series. In a deleted scene for A New Hope, Luke Skywalker has his initial introduction by seeing the space battle above using his macro binoculars. This scene was later removed because it ruined the pacing. In Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon uses a communicator to talk to Obi-Wan. Keeping with the theme of makeshift props, this was made out of a woman's Gillette razor handle. Depending on which version you're watching, the original or special edition, Darth Vader may or may not have eyebrows in this scene in Return of the Jedi. This is one of many seemingly pointless changes George Lucas has made to the original trilogy over the years. Frank Oz, the puppeteer and voice of Yoda in the movies, is also the voice of Miss Piggy and many other famous puppets. Tupac Shakur auditioned for the part of Mace Windu in Episode 1, but unfortunately died before he could be given the part. Instead, the role was given to Samuel L. Jackson. And staying with the theme of Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson asked for a purple lightsaber in Star Wars Episode 2. George protested, claiming that Jedi only had blue and green lightsabers, but eventually he caved in. Boba Fett was originally going to have white armor and be an elite Imperial agent. He was later changed into a bounty hunter with his iconic green armor. The iconic blaster sound effect from Star Wars is actually made by hitting a metal wire with a hammer. Ben Burtt, the sound designer, discovered this while hiking. Nine Numb, Lando's co-pilot in Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, speaks Kikuyu, a real language spoken in Kenya. This came as a surprise to Kenyan audiences who reportedly broke into laughter while watching the movie. The creature that Luke gets green milk from in Episode 8, The Last Jedi, is called a Thala Siren. Like his lightsaber, he now prefers green over blue. In Star Wars A New Hope, the order that Red Squadron reports in is 10, 7, 3, 6, 9, 2, 11, and 5. Why they don't just go in numerical order remains a mystery. George Lucas got the name for R2-D2 by hearing someone say, Reel 2, Track 2. I love that such an iconic movie character got their name from something so simple. The AT-AT driver in Episode 5 is repainted TIE pilot armor to save on production costs. Also, I refuse to call it an AT-AT. The interrogation droid in the original Star Wars had British made printed on the syringe. I suppose this could explain the Imperial officer's accents. Han Solo's iconic reply of "I know" when Leia says "I love you" was made up by Harrison Ford. George wanted him to say "I love you too," but instead Han got to say one of the most iconic lines in the whole saga. Speaking of Han Solo, Harrison Ford wanted Han to die after being frozen in carbonite, not necessarily just to leave the movie, but to bring more emotional weight to the characters. He got his wish when Han was killed in Episode 7. Elan Sleazebagano is the name of the character who tries to sell death sticks to Obi-Wan in Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. He has his own action figure. In many scenes while filming the prequels, Ewan McGregor had to be muted because he kept making his own lightsaber noises during fight scenes. In the Star Wars Clone Wars TV show, General Grievous and Anakin never meet, so that the scene in Episode 3 where Anakin says,
General Grievous, you're shorter than I expected.
still makes sense. A really nice bit of continuity the writers kept here. In Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Rey has a vision where she hears Obi-Wan calling out to her. This was made by sound mixing a clip of Alec Guinness saying "afraid" and Ian McGregor recording the line. Despite Luke and Leia being twins, Mark Hamill is actually 3 years older than Carrie Fisher. In Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, Luke's lightsaber is near identical to Obi-Wan's, save for one component and the blade color. This implies that Luke took inspiration from Obi-Wan when he created his own saber. George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney in 2012 for $4.05 billion in stocks and cash. What he's doing with all that money, we can only wonder. In 2007, LEGO made only 100,000 exclusive gold metallic C-3PO minifigures put into random sets. There were also 5 made entirely out of solid 14-karat gold. During the iconic "I am your father" scene from Episode 5, George only told Mark Hamill what Vader was going to say when James Earl Jones did the voiceover. This kept the moment a big surprise for everyone, even the people on set. The bounty hunter IG-88 from Empire Strikes Back has his head made from the prop of the Cantina bar in A New Hope. General Grievous's cough is actually recorded from a bad cough George Lucas had while filming the prequels. George had bronchitis, and they recorded it, creating an iconic part of this cyborg general. Most of the blasters in the original trilogy are leftover props from World War II movies, just with extra bits added on to make them look more spacey. George thought this would make the guns look more believable. The Star Wars title crawl has a 4-dot ellipse. It's speculated that this is George Lucas referencing Flash Gordon, a sci-fi serial that inspired him to make Star Wars. Every Star Wars crawl has had this except for Return of the Jedi for some reason. "I have a bad feeling about this" is a line that appears in almost every form of Star Wars media. In Episode 8, it is implied that BB-8 beeps this line, to which Poe responds by saying,
Happy beeps here, buddy. Come on.
Also appearing in most movies is the Wilhelm scream, a common movie sound effect that is essentially an in-joke among sound designers. Originally, George wanted the opening title of Star Wars to say, "A long time ago in the not-too-distant future." Then someone pointed out to him that this makes no sense at all. In Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, during the Bespin escape, a character can be seen running with an ice cream maker in hand. This character is named Wilro Hood. A similar prop would later be used in The Mandalorian to store the Beskar ingots. During the trash compactor scene, Mark Hamill burst a blood vessel in his face, presumably from holding his breath underwater for so long. The crew accounted for this by only filming one side of Luke's face for a while. TIE Fighter cockpit windows look differently from the inside and outside. What was originally just an error has now become a fun bit of continuity that has been consistent in Star Wars games and media for years. Jeremy Bulloch, who played Boba Fett in the original trilogy, was only cast because he could fit into the pre-made suit. Jason Wingreen provided the voice, but he would be replaced by Tamora Morrison in the special edition. In the Disney Plus version of A New Hope, there is exactly one change, adding Greedo saying "McClunky" during the shootout scene at the bar. It roughly translates to "this is the end for you," and is one of many unnecessary changes they keep making to this scene. Originally, R2-D2 was supposed to speak English instead of beeping. According to some sources, he was originally quite sassy. And on a similar topic, Chewbacca also originally spoke English, but this was dubbed over with his growl sounds.
That old man's mad.
You said it, Chewie.
So yeah, that's a bunch of useless Star Wars information. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.